If you get it right, I'll give you a great reward. I'll do anything you ask. At my middle school reunion, a beautiful president's daughter I hadn't seen in years challenged me with a difficult question. She seemed to dislike me since our school days, and now she was mocking me for only having a middle school education. Her expression showed she was sure I wouldn't know the answer. But sorry to disappoint you, but it was so easy that I already solved it. What? Actually, She froze when she heard my secret. So, what reward should I ask for? My name is John, I'm 27 years old. I was born and raised in a city, but right after graduating middle school, family circumstances forced us to move to my father's rural hometown. Since then, I hadn't returned to my old town even once. The distance from our new home was quite far, so visiting my old classmates wasn't easy. But this time, I had some work-related matters and decided to visit for the first time in over 10 years. One reason was that I received an invitation to our middle school reunion. Apparently, my old school was celebrating its 100th anniversary. I was surprised to learn it was such a historic school. By chance, the invitation reached me through an acquaintance of my father's, who had my new address. I haven't been back to that town in so long. I wonder how it's changed. I wonder if my old classmates even remember me. Receiving the invitation brought back many forgotten memories. The places we used to hang out, the atmosphere of the town. The time spent with my classmates. Recalling all that, I decided to take the plunge and attend the reunion. After a 4-hour drive, I returned to the town for the first time in 12 years. It looked a bit more rundown than I remembered. The buildings near the station had many vacant stores, and the liveliness of the past was gone. The arcade and bowling alley where I used to go with friends in middle school were all gone. Apparently, redevelopment around the next station over had caused that area to flourish instead. It's only natural that things change over more than a decade. That's just the way of the world. Honestly, I didn't have many good memories of middle school. Why? Because a certain girl used to harass me persistently. Her name was Emily. She was the daughter of a president who ran a large company. Beautiful, smart, athletic, and talented in the arts. A perfect girl. For some reason, she always targeted me. Even when we were in the same class in 7th grade, and later in different classes, she was always hostile towards me. Her methods were subtle. She'd come up to me when I was alone to say something mean or set me up to fail without others noticing. Once, I directly asked her why she did it. But she didn't give a proper answer. I just don't like you, that's all. She turned her beautiful face to the side and, true to her words, said she didn't like me at all. I still remember the pleasant scent of her long hair that swayed as she turned. Though I was angry, I couldn't help but be mesmerized by her beauty. That's how beautiful she was even as a young girl. I wonder if Emily will come to the reunion. If she does, will she bother me again? We're all adults now, so it shouldn't be like middle school. Anyway, since I have other reasons to go to that town, I'll just have to go. Attending the reunion as a side event doesn't sound too bad. I arrived at the reunion venue. With alumni from the past 100 years gathering, it was a huge crowd. According to the attendee list, the oldest person there was in their 90s. There were no centenarians, but having people in their 90s was impressive. Among the attendees from 12 years ago, class of '88, I saw Emily's name. It seemed she was attending today. For a moment, seeing her name made me feel uneasy, but it was immature to feel that way before anything even happened. With that light thought, I sat in my assigned seat with my name tag. Given the large number of people, only chairs were set up, and the food was served buffet style. Elderly attendees had special seating arrangements, but most of us were in the general area. Name tags were attached to the backs of the chairs, and people arriving at the venue found their seats and sat down. Quite a turnout. After a while, an incredibly beautiful woman entered the venue and sat a bit away from me. She immediately drew attention, walking gracefully like a supermodel. I was so mesmerized by her beauty that I stared for a while before realizing it was Emily. I couldn't believe she had grown into such a stunning woman. She was beautiful back then, but I never imagined she'd turn out like this. I continued to stare at her without saying a word, lost in thought. It wasn't just me. Everyone around, regardless of age or gender, couldn't take their eyes off her. She had an overwhelming presence, almost like an aura. She seemed used to the attention and talked to someone nearby without a care. Even that scene looked like something out of a movie. After a while, she seemed to notice me. She gave a small nod to the person she was talking to and stood up, walking towards me. "Oh, John, you're here too. First time since graduation?" Her voice was clear and resonant. The voice I had always hoped to hear from her was exactly what she used. Since she had stood up and approached me, many people were now paying attention to my response. "Yeah, I left right after graduation." I tried to answer as calmly as possible, though I'm not sure how well I did. "Really? You moved away?" "Something like that." I gave a vague reply. There were several reasons my family left this town. First, my father's restaurant had to close. It was part of a shopping street a bit away from the station. With a new big building near the station, the shopping street was already declining. And it was only a matter of time before it turned into a shuttered street. So, the plan was to rebuild the shopping street into a commercial building. If we had wanted, we could have moved our restaurant into the new building, but we had another reason not to. That other reason was my illness. It wasn't life-threatening, but with the relocation plan, my family decided it was better for me to recuperate in my father's rural hometown. So, my parents, my 5 years younger brother, and I moved after I graduated. I got sick in the latter half of my third year of middle school, so fortunately, I had enough attendance to graduate. But I couldn't go on to high school. Come to think of it, you stopped coming to school. Why was that? Emily seemed to remember something I didn't want her to. She asked straightforwardly, without any hesitation. "Yeah, I got sick." "Really?" I had no idea. "I thought you were avoiding me." She said this loud enough for only me to hear. She was laughing as she spoke, so it probably looked like we were having a friendly conversation from a distance. I remembered how she used to do the same thing to me back then. When I didn't respond, she continued. "Hey, did you really dislike me that much?" "Why?" I wanted to know why she used to pick on me so much. When I stayed silent, she gave me a scornful look and let out a small, mocking laugh. "Well, whatever. We're just destined to be like this." "What?" "What do you mean?" "It means we're naturally supposed to dislike each other. We could never be friends." What could she possibly mean by that? As I pondered, she stood up and smiled sweetly. "See you later." I watched her return to her seat in silence. As soon as she left, people started gathering around me, asking if I was close to her and what our relationship was. According to them, Emily had been voted the most beautiful woman at Harvard. Even in middle school, she was brilliant and beautiful, as if she was born to be the protagonist of her own story. I realized she really had it all. No wonder she drew so much attention. Eventually, it was time for the centennial reunion to begin. Principal Smith gave the opening speech, but my mind was elsewhere, preoccupied with something else. It was Emily's words. Destined? What does she mean by that? If she just disliked me, she wouldn't use such a strong word. Damn it, I can't focus on anything. I had wanted to ask her why she acted that way back in middle school, but I never did because I was just a kid then. Why did she hate me so much? No, that's not it. It's beyond the level of mere dislike. She despises me. I realized this for the first time. After the guest speeches and the school song, it was time for the meal. Everyone moved towards their favorite dishes, carrying plates loaded with food and glasses, chatting happily with old classmates and seniors. A few people came by to greet me and then moved on. But even then, my mind was elsewhere. All I could think about was finding Emily after the reunion and asking her why. That was the only thing on my mind. She was, of course, at the center of the crowd. Classmates, seniors, juniors, teachers, everyone approached her, and she responded to them all. I watched from a distance, eating without really tasting the food. When and how should I approach her? As I pondered this, she suddenly broke away from the crowd and started walking towards me again. Hey, John, do you have a moment? She smiled warmly. I remembered that smile. I remembered how she used to do this in middle school. She would give me questions she knew I couldn't answer and then pretend to be disappointed when I couldn't. It was her way of asserting dominance. Could you take a look at this and tell me what it says? Here we go. She handed me a paper with something written in a foreign language. I'm good with French, but I'm not sure about German. She looked at me with a helpless expression, asking for my help. Someone gave me this earlier, but I can't understand it. If it's important, I'd be in trouble, so could you read it for me? Why did she bring this to me? John, you were really into German in middle school, weren't you? She hit a sore spot. Why does she remember that? Back then, I was what you might call a middle schooler with a phase, scribbling incomprehensible German phrases everywhere. Everyone has a couple of embarrassing moments like that in their past. You were good at French too, so I thought you might be able to read this now. She's come prepared. Some of our old classmates nodded in agreement, recalling my German phase. As I silently looked at the text, she leaned in and whispered, "If you get it right, I'll give you a great reward. I'll do anything you ask." Her expression showed she was sure I wouldn't know the answer. So, do you think you can read it? It's okay if you can't. Well, sorry to disappoint you, but I've already figured it out. She looked puzzled. This isn't a letter, it's a copy from a German law book. Whoever gave you this must be teasing you, knowing you're a Harvard grad. When I handed the paper back, she took it with a blank expression. She shot me a sharp glance but quickly returned to her usual smile. Oh, I see. I got teased. Sorry for taking up your time. She handled it gracefully. She easily brushed off the earlier conversation as if it never happened. But John, that's impressive. To figure it out so quickly just by glancing at it. Which university did you attend? I hadn't attended high school because of my illness. She must have overheard me talking about it with others earlier. Maybe she thought I'd never had a proper education when she gave me the German text. I went to Stanford. I answered nonchalantly. What? Stanford? The room buzzed with whispers. Of course, it did. No one expected someone like me to name-drop Stanford. I couldn't attend high school because of my illness, but I passed my exams and went straight to university. Hearing that, the people who had been surrounding Emily quickly gathered around me. Half looked at me with admiration, while the other half eyed me with suspicion. And so, the 100th anniversary reunion came to an end. Afterwards, as people continued to approach me, I kept my distance and looked for Emily. Emily, can I talk to you for a moment? What is it? She turned to me with a stiff expression. Do you remember the promise you made earlier? Promise? What promise? You said you'd do anything if I could read the German text. She stood in silence. I don't care what it is, but you have to keep your promise. Fine, I get it. She replied reluctantly. There's something I want to know. Why did you pick on me so much in middle school? I could never figure out why. She remained silent. Her silence started to make me angry. There's something I want to tell you. You know I said I couldn't go to high school because of my illness? That might have been your fault. What? How could it be my fault? Have you heard of orthostatic dysregulation? It's a disorder of the autonomic nervous system that makes it hard to get up in the morning. It's a condition that often affects teenagers, but because it makes it hard to wake up, people often think you're just lazy or slacking off. And it's not well understood. It's said that stress can affect the autonomic nervous system, leading to this condition. Your behavior back then really hurt me. I think it might have been one of the causes of my illness. Maybe the move helped, but fortunately, I recovered in about 2 years. Because of that, I couldn't experience high school life at all. It was a difficult illness, even if it wasn't life-threatening. Emily looked shocked and wide-eyed at my words. So I couldn't go to high school. In the end, studying on my own became interesting, and I managed to get into Stanford. So I guess I should thank you for that. My sarcastic remark made her lower her head. I noticed her shoulders trembling. Did I make her cry? I worried that I might have said too much, but it seemed that wasn't the case. She was laughing. Ah, serves you right. It should be like that. For a moment, I thought I misheard, but it seemed I hadn't. It's all your parents' fault. What? Your father stole my mother. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. What? You didn't know? It happened when I was 3. My mother abandoned me and went to your father. It's true that my mother isn't my biological mother. She married my father when I was 4, and a year later, my brother Tom was born. But I had never heard that she had a child before. Neither of my parents seemed like they would do something like that. In 6th grade, I accidentally found out where my mother was and went to see your father's restaurant. You were there too. Looking so happy with your family of 4. I couldn't forgive you from that moment. Emily glared at me as she continued. I was attending a private integrated school, but I transferred to your public middle school for revenge. That's why. Her story didn't seem like a lie. There was no reason for her to make up something like this. So if my attitude made you sick, it's your parents' fault. She said this with a satisfied smile. I planned to go to the same high school as you, but you suddenly disappeared. To find out you were sick serves you right. I never knew a beautiful woman could look so ugly saying such things. Ask your parents about me. Ask if they know Emily. I could only watch her walk away after hearing her final words. When I got home, I immediately talked to my parents and asked if what she said was true. And it turned out that her story about her mother was true. But the rest of her story was a bit different. Honestly, I couldn't tell which version was correct. But I decided to believe my parents. After that, I reached out to Emily through mutual acquaintances. Unless she knew the truth, she would live her life holding this grudge forever. Fortunately, she agreed to meet me after I explained the situation. We arranged to meet at an old family restaurant in the building near the station. It had been there since my middle school days and was still the only hangout spot in town. The place was quite crowded when I arrived. So, what did your parents say? About that, it seems the story you know is a bit different. I thought about whether I should tell you, but I think you deserve to know the truth. She glared at me, clearly annoyed. Fine, go ahead. Tell me your story. I can't be sure if it's true or not, though. All right. I told her what I had learned from my parents. First of all, my father did not steal her mother from her father. After your mother gave birth to you, she fell ill and was told by the doctor that she might not be able to have any more children. Your father wanted a son to inherit the company, so he forced her out. Oomph, that's a lie. She was reluctant to believe my words. Which was understandable. Then why did she leave without taking me? If he didn't want a daughter, I should have been thrown out too. He cared about appearances. If he kicked out both mother and child, his reputation would have suffered. So, he made your mother the villain and threw her out. Her parents' marriage had been a strategic one. Her nouveau riche father had offered support to the failing company of her mother's family in exchange for marriage. Her mother's family had a prestigious lineage. That's why your noble bloodline was necessary. But he also wanted a male heir. This was the result. Gradually, her expression began to change. It seemed like she was starting to recall something. After being kicked out, your mother had nowhere to go. She ended up working at a diner where she lived in. It was my father's diner, who had lost his wife and was raising me alone. Their meeting was coincidental, but perhaps it was fate. They fell in love and eventually remarried. She became my stepmother, and, ironically, they had my brother. If your father hadn't divorced her, thinking she could still have children, my brother might never have been born. It might have been a shocking story for Emily, but I needed to correct these lies. My mother's family company is now run by her younger brother. If you talk to him, you might find out the truth. After hearing my story, she silently stood up and left the restaurant. Days passed without incident. The other reason I had returned to my hometown was to help revitalize the old station building. I had studied business administration at university and was now working as a management consultant. The neighboring station was bustling now, but if I could bring popular shops here, it might change the flow of people. So, I was carefully selecting businesses to fill the vacant spaces. One of those shops was to be run by my father. He used to run a business here, and my brother wanted to work with him. I had to make this project a success. I've always had a soft spot for my brother. One busy day, I was suddenly contacted by Emily. We met at the same old family restaurant. Emily, who had arrived before me, seemed smaller and more subdued than before. As soon as she saw me, she stood up and bowed deeply. "I'm sorry. Everything you said was true." According to her, she had always been treated as a nuisance by her stepmother. Her father allowed this and doted on her younger brother. From his perspective, the son he had wanted so badly to the extent of divorcing his first wife was his important heir. Given his concern for appearances, it was understandable that Emily and her brother were treated differently. "I always thought my mother abandoned me because she didn't want me. I blamed her for my father's neglect, and I took it out on you." Tears welled up in her eyes. "I worked hard to become someone who wasn't unwanted. I studied hard and went to Harvard. But I never stopped feeling like the child my mother abandoned." Listening to my story, she found some things that made sense to her. "My father used to say things like, 'I supported your mother's family. Because of their status, I'm taking care of you.' He'd say, 'I'll give you money, but that's it.'" She had no connection with her mother's side because of this strained relationship. After hearing my story, she decided to talk to her uncle, who now ran the family business. My uncle admitted it. He knew where my mother was but was threatened by my father to stay silent or lose financial support. He apologized for keeping it from me. She bit her lip in frustration. "My dad always said, 'Thanks to you being so capable, our company's reputation improves. Next, find yourself a better off guy.' He's been saying that forever." Her dad seems to see her as nothing more than a tool for his business. Actually, he might judge everything and everyone based on their usefulness to him. That's why I rejected every marriage proposal. Luckily, most people backed off when they found out I was a Harvard grad. It seems high-educated women aren't to their taste. She spoke with a hint of sarcasm. "I'm currently running one of my father's companies, but it's just a figurehead position. I've decided to leave after learning the truth. I can't live with my father, his new wife, or their son anymore." With that, she bowed her head to me again. "I'm sorry for making you sick. I know saying sorry doesn't make up for it, and I don't expect you to forgive me. But I just wanted to say it." As she finished speaking, she stood up to leave. "Wait," I called out, stopping her. "Where are you going?" "I don't know, I'll find a job somewhere." "Then, would you help me with my work?" She turned, surprised. "Your work?" "Yes. I'm working on revitalizing this town. If you feel guilty about what you did to me, help me with this project. We really need more hands." "But I can't forgive what you did, but that's in the past. Let's work together for the future." She broke down in tears. To outsiders, it looked like I had made a beautiful woman cry in a family restaurant. Everyone was giving me cold stares. "This is awkward, please stand up." Eventually, Emily accepted my offer and started working at my company. She also reunited with her mother. Although she hadn't known the truth, she apologized for resenting her mother for so long. And her mother also apologized for leaving her daughter behind. At last, mother and daughter were able to reconcile. Emily also met her half-brother and was happy to connect with him. She didn't have a good relationship with her other brother, but my brother is a lovable character. He quickly bonded with her, and soon we were smiling together like a family of 5. Years later, the station building redevelopment was a success, and the town began to regain its former liveliness. The neighboring station didn't decline, and both areas thrived, competing to boost the town. However, Emily's father's company was struggling. His overbearing management style and interference from his wife and son had caused good employees to leave. Though the company was still hanging on, he had heard about my success and sought my advice. "Are you really going to help his company?" "I'm not sure. The employees don't deserve to suffer, and it wouldn't be good for the town if the company failed." That was my honest feeling. "But there needs to be a change. I'll bring in people from your mother's family's company and have your father step down. I won't let things get worse." Emily looked relieved. Despite everything, she still cared about her family. Over the years, Emily and I had grown closer. Perhaps we might become a real family one day. I had a feeling that might happen. A single sad event had twisted our relationship, But as long as we're alive, there's always a chance to start over. There's no wasted experience in life. What? Oh, nothing. For now, we can only move forward, believing in a brighter tomorrow. I'm sure a bright future awaits us.